Left of the box. So recently, and I covered this in my last live stream, hence this is why this is an update in this live stream, Trump has declared he's going to put a tariff on all goods being imported from all his major trading partners. So Canada, Mexico, and China, all for pretty much made up reasons. Because, the thing you want to do when you're the president of a very powerful country is to piss off all of your trading partners, all of your biggest trading partners. That's what you want to do. Just get into arbitrary trading wars for what exactly? I don't know. Like he says, oh, he wants less fentanyl in the country and like, okay, so why don't you deal with the issues that are causing people to turn to fentanyl as self-medication type thing? Like, go to the root of the addictions. Why are people getting addicted to fentanyl in the first place and deal with that? Also, a lot of these drugs come in through legal ports of entry and stuff, but Donald Trump's like, oh no, illegal border crossings. All these illegal immigrants coming in. Granted, there are a lot of illegal Canadian immigrants in the US, but it's not because they just snuck across the border. No, they had working visas and they just overstayed their visas. That's how the majority of them are over there right now. But all this idea of like, oh, you need to clamp down on the border and blah, blah, blah. And the response from the president of Mexico has been very strong. Claudia Sheinbaum, I think her name is. And I really like her response versus Trudeau. I had a pleasant phone call with him. Well, now he's gone out to dinner with Trump. He went to Mar-a-Lago. Yep, Justin Trudeau just went to Mar-a-Lago. Don't get me wrong. I'm not upset at the fact that he went to Mar-a-Lago to talk to Trump. I find it kind of ridiculous that it is Mar-a-Lago where these negotiations are happening, as opposed to, any sort of like professional government setting. But, that is kind of Justin Trudeau's responsibility in that case, is to go and see if there's anything that can be done, maybe behind closed doors, and have a conversation. But really, the idea that Trump can be president of the most powerful nation in the world is ridiculous. When Justin Trudeau has to sit down and basically with a chalkboard and a meter stick point out, like, this is what a tariff does. This is how it will affect you. This is how it will affect us, and actually have to explain to him how this works is just, how can this be allowed to happen? It should be disqualifying if you don't know what a tariff is to be the president of the United States of America. If you're using it for some sort of vague reason or objective, it should be disqualifying. I'm not necessarily keen on saying, well, you have to have passed high school or college or have a university degree in order to be in any sort of level of government. But you still have to be smart. The whole educational institute, not necessarily keen on, but you still have to be able to read a definition and understand it and absorb that information in order to be in office, I would think. From CBC News. So how did Trudeau and Trump's dinner meeting go? Here's what we know. PM traveled to Mar-a-Lago after U.S. President-elect said he would impose hefty tariffs on Canada, Mexico. And that's a very cropped-in picture. And I'll show you why in just a little bit. But this is very cropped in. It's very grady because this was actually the picture, the original picture. It's taken from quite the distance away. But we'll see why in a moment. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and U.S. President-elect Donald Trump discussed border security and Canada-U.S. trade during a surprise meeting at Trump's estate in Florida on Friday night. Trudeau flew to Palm Beach, Florida, and visited Trump at Mar-a-Lago, where the president-elect had been meeting with his transition team in recent weeks. The visit came amid Trump's threats to impose steep tariffs on Canadian products entering the United States. On Saturday, Trump described the meeting as very productive on his social media channel Truth Social. In a post, Trump said he and Trudeau discussed the fentanyl and drug crisis, illegal immigration, and Canada-U.S. trade. Other places have been suggesting it, and I tend to agree with their theory that there's been a lot of pushback on Trump from the business community, from donors and stuff, saying, this tariff thing is a bad idea. And Trump wants an out. And so just saying, oh, okay, so now that they're going to have some air patrols across the border of Canada or something, or they're going to do this, haha, I won, now I won't put the tariffs on. Like he's looking for an out to make it seem like he got what he wanted and can get rid of the tariffs. Like it's just that's kind of the impression people are getting right now, and it wouldn't surprise me if it's getting closer to being a reality. The whole thing, the threat of tariffs, so unnecessary. And all it is doing is antagonizing the United States' biggest trading partners. And all it's doing is setting a precedent that former relationships, former dealings are no longer safe. That you can't rely on the states. You can't trust the states on what they're going to say. And Trump did a good job of really destroying a lot of that illusion when he was in office in the first round. This is just saying to the world, we're going to treat you like shit. And, the United States won't be a superpower forever, like the superpower forever. It's just the way global politics go. No one is number one forever. They're doing a lot of the fucking around part right now, which is sad because when the finding out part comes, it's going to be the people who suffer, not the rich people who caused the situation in the first place. I made it very clear that the United States will no longer sit idly by as our citizens become victims to the scourge of this drug epidemic caused mainly by the drug cartels and fentanyl pouring in from China, he wrote. From Donald J. Trump. I just had a very productive meeting with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of Canada, where we discussed many important topics like that will require both countries to work together to address, like the fentanyl and drug crisis that has decimated so many lives as a result of illegal immigration. See, this is why they're able to agree on this, is because Justin Trudeau recently has been throwing immigrants under the bus as well. So it's like, oh yeah, totally immigrants' fault. Justin Trudeau will totally be on board with that. Fair trade deals that do not jeopardize American workers and the massive... Do you know what jeopardizes American workers is all the jobs that have already been shipped overseas and out of country. And the massive trade deficits in the U.S. has with Canada, that's not a thing. I made it very clear that the United States will no longer sit idly by as our citizens become victims to the scourge of this drug epidemic, just random capitalization going on around here, caused mainly by the drug cartels and fentanyl pouring in from China. So that's what you do. When there's another country like China that you're claiming is just pouring the drugs into the United States, what you do is put tariffs on other countries. And that country, because that will solve it. That's some big brain thinking there. Too much death and hardship. Prime Minister Trudeau has made a commitment to work with us to end this terrible devastation of U.S. families. We also spoke about many other important topics like energy, trade, and the Arctic. All are vital issues that we'll be addressing on my first days back in office and before. What will also be devastating to U.S. families is how much everything is going to go up in cost if he puts these tariffs through. A Canadian government source who spoke confidently to CBC News said that there was no guarantee that the tariffs are coming off the table, but Canadians left the meeting with optimism that a solution is obtainable. The source also said Trudeau promised to increase security along the Canada-US border and specifically told Trump he'll increase helicopter patrols. That's how you get Trump's attention. We have this little whirly bird here that we're going to be putting up across the border, eh? Yeah, and it's going to be looking for those drugs that you've been talking about, huh? Yeah, and it's going to have like these heat sensors or maybe something, and these little, like, we'll have an app on it that will actually track these drugs for you. So totally doing everything you're saying, eh? But also just to say, like, here is Justin Trudeau going down there to talk about this. Whereas in this article, he also wants to, this is from CNN, and this is what Trudeau says. One of the things that is really important to understand is that Donald Trump, when he makes statements like this, he plans on carrying them out. There's no question about it. Again, just really the United States, Donald Trump making it clear to the rest of the world he will not work with them. And this is the zoomed in picture. So you see just here of the two of them, and I'll point out why in just a minute. One thing that struck Canadian officials, the source said, is how important the fentanyl issue is to Trump and that anything Canada can do to help is key. And of course, he loves talking about the fentanyl issue because it's very scary and it's impacting a lot of people. But cracking down on these drugs doesn't solve the underlying cause for why people are getting addicted to fentanyl in the first place. That needs to be dealt with. Raising tariffs, more patrols, all of that won't fix the problem. You need to fix the societal issues at hand that is driving people to become addicted to these drugs. And here's Justin Trudeau tweeting out, "Thanks for dinner last night, President Trump. I look forward to the work we can do together again." Oh, this is actually a better picture. This is a much better picture. I'm circling this. You'll see why in a moment. Overall, Canadian officials felt they made good connections on Friday and no key players on Trump's new team, the source says. Trudeau was joined on the trip by Public Safety Minister Dominic LeBlanc and his Chief of Staff Katie Telford. On Saturday, LeBlanc told CBC News he was struck by how cordial the relationship is between the Prime Minister and the President-elect Trump. Common misconception that Justin Trudeau and Trump didn't get along. On a surface level, nah, they didn't get along. And they were a bit hard-heading, like a bit abrasive, bumping up against each other and stuff. But when it came to international issues or pipelines or corporate issues, they were actually fairly aligned. They didn't have as many disagreements as one might think. So it doesn't strike me, I'm not struck by how cordial the relationship is, because on a lot of the big issues, they got along just fine before. But he would do that funny little thing, when he's in a press conference or something, and somebody asks him about Donald Trump, and there's 45 seconds of silence as you see Trudeau making weird faces or something, and everyone's like, oh, ha ha, look at that. He doesn't like working with Trump, blah, blah, blah. He worked just fine with Trump and will continue to work just fine with him. You see, what would be nice is to see more of Scheinbaum's reaction to this. Like, that's how you see strength and stuff. And that Mexico isn't just going to be pushed over. Canada absolutely will be pushed over with Trudeau in power. And Poilievre. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If it's Poilievre or Trudeau, this country is just going to be rolled over. When asked whether Trump canceled his tariff threat, LeBlanc says the president-elect hasn't imposed them yet and he's not president. We talked about how the Canadian economy and the American economy depend on each other, the minister said, and we talked about how difficult the imposition of tariffs would be on many American consumers and why it's in our interest to work together on shared security concerns. So this is like one of the main official pictures that were going out about this dinner. You can see here is Justin Trudeau and there's Donald Trump, and what the fuck is going on there? At first when I saw this, I thought it was photoshopped. I did. But if we go here, this will be a bit bigger. That's real. That kid there totally bombed that photo. This official photo going around. Like, whoever took this picture, really, you could have done a double take. And someone could have told that kid to, maybe not do that. But now it's in like all these big official photos. All these government officials just tweeting this out without, looking in the background. That, and you have this person here who seems to be phasing out of reality. Federal provincial leaders react to meeting. In a social media post on Saturday morning, Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet said in French that you can't fault the Prime Minister for meeting Trump. Yeah, I don't. And of course, all of the conservative premiers that were so happy Donald Trump got in are now like, why are you eating my face? Because here's the thing, Donald Trump doesn't care about any of the conservative leaders here in Canada. He doesn't. He might think it's cute that they kiss up to him and stuff, but he doesn't care about them. A teachable moment for Donald Trump. So this is Justin Trudeau saying, our responsibility is to point out that in this way, he would actually not just be harming Canadians who work so well with the United States. He'd actually be raising prices for American citizens as well and hurting American industry and businesses. Trudeau spoke with Trump by phone on Monday evening after the president-elect made his tariff threat. The prime minister said Tuesday morning that the two had a good conversation. We obviously talked about how the intense and effective connections between our two countries flow back and forth. We talked about some of the challenges we can work on together, he told reporters.